Silence. No one said a thing after the Vice Admiral showed up in front of the tall Scion. Everyone gathered around the Vice Admiral, and the Scion patiently waited for what is going to happen. Koby and Helmeppo, the two who were picked by Garp, were just standing behind the old man and, like others, waited for the Scion to release the shop owner. The Scion was just standing there with the owner's neck in his hand. He looked at the old man that approached him and at the all man that surrounded him. He noticed that all of them were nothing but weaklings, unlike the old man in front of him. Broly glanced back at the old Marine, and he could tell that the man was strong, but nothing compared to him. Broly thought for a moment what to do with the weakling in his hand when he decided to play along with the old Vice Admiral. It could be entertaining. Broly smirked as he let go of the man who fell down on the ground and immediately ran away from the Scion. Garp looked at the man on the floor and noticed that the man was not heavily injured. The Vice Admiral immediately shifted his eyes back at the tall Scion and analyzed the young man. He could tell that the young man in front of him was in a fight recently. The scars on his body were still fresh and bloodied, but the man didn't seem to have any problem with that. Garp slowly approached the Scion and looked him in the eyes. "Young man, would you tell me what happened here?" asked Garp the Scion, who remained silent. Garp figured that talking wouldn't accomplish anything, so he gave the last warning look. "It's better for you to answer now than later in prison." Broly glanced at the man with a grin on his face. "You think you can order me around, weakling?" said Broly, surprising the other Marines by this. No one ever called the hero Garp a weakling. Garp didn't say anything when he suddenly started to laugh, leaving everyone around surprised by his action. "Ha ha ha, boy, you are really something. This is the first time someone called me like that." "Ha ha," laughed Garp with all his might as he walked closer to Broly. He placed a hand on Broly's arm and squeezed it. He looked at the Scion, searching for a painful expression on his face, but to his surprise there were none. Broly just chuckled at the man in front of him. "What are you doing, old man? Who told you that you could put your hand on my arm?" said Broly as he grabbed Garp's arm with his own hand and squeezed the Vice Admiral arm only a little. Everyone was shocked when they heard a yell coming from Garp. Even though Broly squeezed his arm with little force, it was more than enough to make the old Marine yell in pain. Broly soon released the hold from the old Marine's arm and evilly smiled at the Garp painful expression. "You really are strong for such a young man, but do you know that you just raised a hand on a Marine? For that, you can go to jail," stated Garp, who tried to hide any sign of him being hurt. Even though this wasn't his style, he wanted to see the Scion reaction, and what could he do? "Tch, you think I care for that? You could never put a scratch on me, let alone put me in jail," exclaimed Broly, who was getting bored with this game. He thought the man would try to attack him and that he could have some fun before finding more food. His thoughts were cut when he heard noises from the crowd. He looked away from the old Marine and noticed a group of people passing through the Marines. "Whoa, what's going on here?" asked Luffy curiously as he approached the Marines while the rest of the crew was just behind his back. "Yeah, what's all this commotion about?" added Sanji as he put a cigarette in his mouth and fired it up. Well, you see, the Vice Admiral tried to bring down that tall guy, but instead, that freak almost crashed Vice Admiral Garp arm," said Koby, who was a little afraid of this. He looked at Luffy, wondering if he was worried about his grandfather. "Wow, really? He almost crushed Grandpa's arm? He must be really strong," yelled Luffy, who was excited now and didn't bother that he was heard by everyone because he just needed to know who was this guy. "Shut up, moron. How is that a good thing? It's clear that guy is dangerous," yelled Nami at Luffy, who didn't even heard what she said and kept smiling. Yeah, Nami is right, Luffy. "This guy looks pretty dangerous," said Chopper, who was afraid of the tall Scion and moved behind Zoro's legs. "Would you let go of my legs, Chopper?" "But yeah, this guy looks really strong," stated Zoro while he tried to free himself from little Chopper's stronghold. Garp turned to his grandson and his crew, while he was still holding his arm, which hurt. "What are you doing here, Luffy? You should be far from here. You are, after all, a pirate," said Garp, only to see Luffy smiling, which angered the Vice Admiral a little. "I know, but our ship is not ready yet, and I heard this guy is stronger than you, so I come to see this," answered Luffy as he laughed at his grandfather, who was now boiling with anger. "You stupid kid, who said he was stronger than me? I admit he is strong, but not as strong as me. And leave this to me. You just watch, Luffy, and don't do anything stupid," warned Garp as he turned away from Luffy and glanced back at Broly, who didn't look pleased by all of this commotion. "I'm sorry for the interruptions. There will be no more. Now, if I remember correctly, you said that I couldn't be able to put a scratch on you, right?" asked Garp as he tightened his fist, which was behind his back. Yes, I said that. All of you are too weak to. Broly didn't have a chance to finish what he wanted to say when out of nowhere he felt a punch on his right cheek. Garp stepped back from Broly after he punched him, but little did he know that what he did could cost him his life. What you say now, young man? That should have hurt a little, right? Exclaimed Garp with a smile on his face, not knowing what he just did could be his last. Broly didn't move at all. He was lost in his thoughts. How dare he, a nobody, a weak fool, punch him in the face? Broly's mind was racing and only wanted to kill the man in front of him. Broly slowly turned his head towards Garp and dangerously looked at him. Garp was a little bit intimidated by the expression on the Saiyan face, while the other Marines sweated in fear. You made a grave mistake, old man, spoke Broly with a very low and dangerous voice as he slowly started approaching Garp, who could see the Saiyan intentions on his face. Boy, you better stop whatever you think of doing. I will have no choice but to arrest you, said Garp, but Broly didn't even hear what he said. The Saiyan walked close to Garp and glared straight in the old man's eyes. Before Garp could even think of something to say, he only felt a lot of pain coming from his stomach. He was forced to spit some of his blood because of the powerful punch. The Marine hero fell on his knees trying to catch some air. Everybody who was around the two yelled in shock and worry for the Vice Admiral. Koby and Helmeppo were frozen by fear along with Nami and Chopper. Sanji and Zoro were surprised, but they quickly snapped from it as they looked at their captain to see if he wanted to do something. Luffy was just standing there, watching his grandfather on his knees. He knew that if this guy could do this to his grandfather, that meant only one thing. Hey guys, spoke Luffy, who immediately caught the attention from the others. What is it, Luffy? Asked Zoro, who was ready for action and stepped in if needed. Do you want something to do about this? He is your grandfather after all, so I understand, said Sanji as he picked a cigarette from his mouth and glanced at Luffy. This guy is strong. If he could do something like that to my grandfather, then he must be super strong. It's awesome, yelled the young pirate, only to shock all of the crew members. Well, almost all of them. Are you serious? He almost killed your grandfather there, and he could still do it, yelled Nami at her captain because of his stupid exclamations and shook him out. Don't worry, he will be fine. He received more beatings than this, laughed Luffy, on which Nami just let go of her captain and mumbled something while Luffy walked away from them. Wait, where are you going? Yelled Sanji, who had a bad feeling about what's about to happen. Leave him be, you know him. When he puts something on his mind, he will do it, exclaimed Zoro as he closed his eyes and crossed his arms. He's right, agreed Robin with a smile on her face, while Nami still continued mumbling something. I'm sure he will do something stupid, said Chopper, who was still hiding behind Zoro and observed the whole situation while Garp was on his knees. Broly was just standing there in front of him. The Saiyan thought what to do with the weak man in front of him. The tall Saiyan was struggling in his mind. Like so many times, there were two voices inside his head telling him what to do. One voice was telling him to kill the man in front of him, to kill all the people around him. They were weak, they didn't deserve to live. The beast inside of him was telling him what to do, and what annoyed Broly about that voice, it was the fact that it sounded similar to his father's voice. While the beast wanted to kill all the mankind, another voice emerged inside the Saiyan's head. This voice was calm, gentle. This voice came to him few times already, but he never listened to this voice. The other, wild voice was always stronger, but this time, it was different. This calm and gentle voice was loud as the other one, and that was what irritated Broly. Broly, who gritted his teeth, didn't even notice that somebody approached him until he heard somebody calling him. He snapped from his thoughts and glanced at the young man in front of him. What surprised the Saiyan was that the man in front of him was smiling. Broly didn't understand why. Was he mocking him? Was he trying to fight, or was it something else? Hey, tall guy, you must be really strong to be able to put my grandfather on the ground like this, said Luffy as he smiled at Broly, who figured by now that this boy was the grandson of the weak man. Broly gritted his teeth at the thought of family. Memories of his father torture and ordering around rushed through his mind, making him angry, but he snapped from that when the man in front of him called him again. I don't know why you started a fight with him, and honestly, I don't care. The Marines are always like that. That's why it's better to be a pirate, exclaimed Luffy as he looked at the Saiyan still with a big smile on his face. Pirate? Said Broly quietly, but more like asking what he meant by that. Luffy was the only one who heard him and started talking. Yeah, a pirate. You can do whatever you want, sail across the sea and have a lot of adventure and meet new friends. But above all, You can drink whatever you want and eat a lot whenever you want. It's fun, and that's the reason I decided to become a pirate, explained Luffy as he laughed while Broly only kept staring at him. Part of him wanted to laugh at the man in front of him for the nonsense that he was talking and kill him, but the other voice for some reason was telling him to listen to the young man in front of him to the very end. So I was thinking, since you're strong and that the Marines are after you, why don't you join my crew? We can be friends and have many adventures, exclaimed Luffy in full excitement while the Scion was standing there surprised by this. This was the first person in his entire life to offer him something like this. Be friends, have fun. These things were unknown to Broly. These things were always considered weaknesses by his father. The beast inside was telling him to smash the fool to the ground and destroy everything, but suddenly he remembered something. I told you I will beat you, Broly, and I could only do it with the help of my friends and family. He remembered what Kakarot said in their last moments. Kakarot was able to beat him because he had friends. Then did that mean something? As he was thinking, he was getting irritated. He hated when he was in positions like this. Usually, his father would tell him what to do. No, he would order him around, but he was not here anymore. Then it was when Broly remembered that he was free. He was not someone's tool anymore. He could do whatever he wants without his father ordering him around, and this man would not order him what to do. No, he said he wanted to be a friend. For the first time in his life, he could be able to decide something on his own, and he was about to do it. Listen, Broly started talking and caught Luffy's attention. If I agree on this, I want you to know that when I fight alone in my way, and don't you dare stop me, declared Broly quietly, on which Luffy nodded as he lowered his hat. And one more thing, I do whatever I want without people ordering me around. Got it? Added Broly, on which Luffy just smiled. Sure thing, as long you are with us, laughed Luffy as he tapped Broly on his chest, which surprised the Scion. Oh, I forgot to tell you my name. My name is Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm gonna be the king of the pirates. I'm Broly.